Good day, everyone. We, the Group 3, will present the following topic on Chapter 5 entitled Typical and Atypical Development Among Children. So, please be ready, and I hope you will try to understand the content of this video. But before that, we have these following learning targets. First, you can identify typical and atypical milestone in the various stages of children development. Then, upon identifying those, you will be able to differentiate typical and atypical development of children in various stages of their development. So, to begin, let's have this question. What is the importance of child development? So we know very well what is child development, no? It's a process. So when we talk about its importance, of course, it is for us to ensure that a child had met the developmental skills needed at that specific developmental stage. It's very important that a child will be able to do so in order for us to really say that a child has undergone a positive development in his or her life. Then I'll introduce to you the different child development theories. First is Eric Erickson's psychosocial development theory. Under this theory, the simple definition of this theory is the 8 stages that a child or an individual should pass through. So maybe the image there is not that visible or legible enough, but it's actually a like a ladder of different development that a child should undergo. We have here the first is for the infant. Of course, the infant is at the very bottom. Going up is for the other adulthood. Then in each specific stage, there are values that should be fulfilled, and there are also values that are contradicting each other. Just to give you an example, under the teenager, let's find teenager. Let's try to locate teenager. We have identity versus role confusion. So these two values or these two matters are the contradicting virtues rather that values virtues in that specific stage. So again, in psychosocial development by Eric Erickson, we only need to put this in our mind that the 8 stages that a child or an individual should go on or should experience. So I hope I'm clear enough with that. Next is the cognitive development theory of John Piaget. Yeah, that's Piaget. So we know very well this one. No, this is being repeated already by the other group. Under the John Piaget's theory are the 4 stages. We know this very well. The sensory motor stage, the pre-operational stage, concrete operational, and the formal operational stage. So I pretty sure you have already knowledge about that. But we need to remember under the sensory motor stage, our keyword there is senses. The child learns or gain knowledge through his or her senses. Pre-operational, they cannot yet logically think, but there's already language development. Then the concrete operational, of course, they could already have logical thinking, but the abstract concepts are not present in them. In the formal operational, of course, we are already in the formal operational stage. We have already all the abstract concepts. We could have also our logical thinking. So in short, um, Under Piaget's theory are these four stages that supposed to be also should be observed by an individual. Next, we have next we have Lev Vygotsky sociocultural theory. So in simple terms, learning equals hands-on experiences. So it's very important that in order for a child to learn something, he or she should really be in the situation, or there should have hands-on experiences for the child to learn better. That's according to Lev Vygotsky sociocultural theory. Hence, the role of parents, teachers, and other educators are very important under this theory. Then lastly, Albert Bandura's social learning theory, which states or asserts that learning is equals to observation and that's observations and modeling. Meaning, if a child could observe what is something to be done, they have the opportunity also to learn about that certain things.
Hi, now let's talk about the atypical and atypical development. A child's growth typically follows a regular pattern. Developmental milestones are specific skills and abilities that can be used to assess a child's development. Examples of these includes following instructions and bubbling and while sitting. But every youngster is different. As a result, not everyone reaches a certain milestones at the same time. Some, as a result, not everyone reaches a certain milestones at the same time, giving rise to the words typical and atypical development. Before we examine what makes a child's development atypical or atypical, let's first define the two terms. So the first term is typical development. It refers to the normal progression where children grow by acquiring knowledge, skills, and behavior called developmental milestones at a certain time frame. For example, children develop a sense of self-care and during adolescence, they develop self-reliance and conscious of their own decisions. Furthermore, they can put out their potential which includes participation in sports, music, arts, and etc. Now let's talk about the atypical development. It is a term used when development does not follow the normal course. A child is developing atypically when he or she reaches a certain milestone earlier or later than other children. In some cases, children who are raised in a different way that doesn't meet the natural nurturance of a child may develop behavior or thinking capacities unfitting to the child's age. Factors that could affect the stunted development of the child may include hereditary, environmental, and nutritional needs. On the contrary, a child who is blessed with a promising gene from their parents may have an advantage over other children in terms of height, weight, and possibly intelligence. There is no way clear to identify if a child is developing typically or atypically. However, there are three commonly accepted principles of child development that one should look into. The principles are as follows. Number one, rate of development differs among children. Every child is unique, and one of them blooms in different seasons. As future educators, we must become a pillar for their growth and provide them with the nurturance that they need. The second, development occurs in relatively orderly process. That is why a teacher has to examine the characteristics of and behavior of each learners in the classroom, assess the development of the child, and see what he can do to fill in the gaps in the development of a child. And the third one, develop takes place gradually. If the teacher properly examines and understands each learner and establishes an effective procedure to teach and bring out the potential, they will eventually show development and conceivably they will exceed the teacher's expectations. That's all. Thank you.
Hi guys, Dean here. So, for my topic, let's talk about the domains of development. Domains of development has four domains. The first one is the physical. It refers about the physical changes of the child's size and strength. For example, the child's weight and height. The second one is the social and emotional. It is about the child's experience, expression, and the way he or she handled the positive relationship with others. And it has two types, the intrapersonal and the interpersonal. We all know that the intrapersonal is about the self-to-self talking, or for example, it is about the child or the child talking to the mirror. Then the second one is the interpersonal. It is about talking with another person, communicating other person to help or for better comprehension. The third one is the language. It is about the children's ability to communicate effectively and understand. For example, recognizing and differentiating sounds. It is ability to communicate through listening, speech, and writing. The fourth one or the last one is a cognitive. It refers to the brain and intellectual development of a child. For example, remembering, problem solving, or even decision making. For now, let's move on to the next topic. It is about the stages in child development. Stages of child development has four stages. The first one is the infancy. It is about from birth to 2 years old of a child. The second one is the early childhood. It is about from 3 years old to 8 years old of a child. The third one is the middle childhood. It is from 9 to 11 years old. And then the last one is the adolescence. It is from 12 to 18 years old of a child. And then the stages in child development has two types, the typical and the atypical, and it would be discussed by the next reporter. Thank
Talk
you.
about typical and atypical development during infancy. Infancy is a critical stage in child development because the growth is rapid during infancy. Infancy is the most important stages of development. This stage is also a building block of our skills and behavior. So let's talk about atypical and atypical. Atypical means the child's progress does not fall within the norm, or it is a form that normal and markedly different ways in development. It doesn't follow the normal course. It could be including things like learning and social disability and disorder. Just like for an example, not able to eat using utensils, undress and undress herself. They have trouble using scissors, while the typical means occurs with a child is meaning that the standardized milestone. At the appropriate stages search for less like examples, responding to the name by at the age of 6 months, crawling by the age of 12 months, and saying two-word phrases at the age of 2. Here learning both of a typical and typical development so as to meet the needs of all atypical types of children's and family situations. There are actually four domains in a typical and typical. One is the physical domain where they began to relate to change, growth, and skill development within the body, including development of muscles and senses like the na silang muscles silang ulo, just for an example of that. While two was the social and emotional, where baby will form a special bond with you, caring adults explore the world around them by touching and looking and engaging with a safe space. They will learn more about emotion by watching you or the surroundings. Number three is the language, Baby communicate using sounds and gestures. They like talk nonsense. And number four is the cognitive. They open and close the cabinet door over and over, and they fill and dump a cup of water in a water table. They bang a spoon in a high chair to hear the loud sounds.
So today I'm going to discuss the typical and atypical development during middle childhood. Middle childhood, usually defined as ages 9 to 12. It is a time when children develop foundational skills for building healthy social relationships and learn roles that will prepare them for adolescence and adulthood. Children in this age group might show rapid development of mental skills, learn better ways to describe experiences, and talk about thoughts and feelings. It is a stage that brings various change in a child's life. Independence is a characteristic that children in this stage asserts. Typical and atypical development during middle childhood domains. We have physical, socio-emotional, language, and cognitive. In physical, in this domain, physical growth shows down. One result of the slowest rate of growth is an improvement in motor skills. Children in this age tend to sharpen their abilities to perform both gross motor skills such as riding a bike and fine motor skills such as cutting their fingernails. In socio-emotional, children make great strides in terms of their ability to recognize emotions in themselves and others, control their own emotions, and communicate about emotions, both expressively and with language. By this age, most children have developed their capacity of regulating their own emotions. In typical development, children may stronger friendships, becomes aware of body changes due puberty, show more concerns about looks, and also may feel stressed about schoolwork. In atypical development, children has difficulty making and keeping friends. Next is language. Language is commonly children will master several subtle but powerful communication skills during their middle childhood years. As a result of this increasing appreciation of the sophisticated ways what language is used, children begin to understand and tell more complex jokes, metaphors, and puns, and to appreciate sarcasms. In typical, at age of 9 to 11 years old, they continue to speak clearly, expresses one's thought accurately. In atypical development, children has unclear speech and can't tell story accurately. Last but not the least is cognitive. Children in middle childhood are beginning a new experience that of formal education. According to Piaget, the child is entering a new stage of cognitive development where they are improving their logical skills. During this age, children also make improvement in short-term and long-term memory. In typical development, children in this stage increase attention span. They seize the view of other people more clearly. In atypical development, they experiences problems with comprehensions and attention, unable to keep up with the school's curriculum. Thank you.